Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much to Theo for that very kind introduction, and to Libby for setting out the nature of the challenges. I do want to start with a disclaimer, which is I flew in from Adelaide, Australia, and arrived middle of the day yesterday. So if I stop making sense at any stage during this speech, I hope that you will forgive me, perhaps give me a hand signal to get me back on track. I know what it's like to undergo the pressures that come with being a parliamentarian, and before I was a parliamentarian I was a political staffer, and I'm not sure which is the more pressurised existence. So to those of you in the room from the ranks of members of parliament, from the Lords and the staffers, thank you for all of your work and contribution. I know that your day-to-day existence tends to be problems coming onto your desk for resolution, and so time after time you are thinking about some of the biggest and most pressing challenges in our world. You might be thinking about the state of the global economy and the places in the world that cannot offer their citizens economic opportunity, causing people to seek to move in the hope of bettering their lives and the lives of their families. You might be considering conflict around the world, or the rise of violent extremism and what that costs, both in human terms and in economic terms, and what it costs in terms of the movement of refugees. You might be thinking about the future, looking at technology, how it's remaking our world at a breathtaking pace, and what that is ultimately going to mean for your constituency, your nation, our planet. You might be thinking about climate change and the impacts that that is having here in the UK and around the world, and coming from Australia, certainly we've spent a summer thinking and talking about that. Now, these all seem such huge challenges that they potentially can sometimes feel so weighty we think they're irresolvable. But today we're actually here to talk about a very big part of the solution, and that is educating girls. Educating girls can make a difference to every challenge that I've outlined for you today. It's been estimated that if we educated every girl, we would add $30 trillion to the global economy. We would eradicate child marriage. We would cut infant mortality in half. We would help slow climate change, because we do know that educated girls go on to be women who choose to have fewer children, and global peak population would be less. We know that educating girls is a key to building peaceful and stable societies, and that certainly peace agreements that have had women at the table are much more likely to endure than those that haven't. And so, a key for many of the challenges you face, we all face today, is ensuring that every girl is learning and reaching her full potential. Now, that doesn't, of course, mean that we would only want to educate girls. Every boy, every girl has got a right to education. We know that if we educated every child, 420 million people would be lifted out of poverty. We know that if we were able to educate every child, that we would see the risk of conflict reduced by around 20%. So we want to make sure every child is in school and learning, but if we imagine the face of the child most likely to miss out today, that face is a girl's face. Indeed, in the time that I'm taking to talk to you now, 15 girls under the age of 15 will give birth, and many of them will never go back to school. More than 180 girls under 18 will be wearing wedding gowns instead of school uniforms, just in the time it takes me to give you these facts. Almost 200 children may have fled and become refugees, and only 46 of those children will get to attend secondary school wherever they have fled to. We can change this picture. We do know that we can make a huge difference if we choose to prioritise girls' education. I want to endorse Prime Minister Johnson's comment that girls' education is, and I quote him, the Swiss Army knife that solves a multitude of the world's problems. I was never someone who owned a Swiss Army knife, but I've got a hankering to get one now, so I'll be out and about investing in one. But he's absolutely right to point to girls' education. So, what can we do about it? Well, I want to give you faith that we can change the future by pointing to the way that we have worked together to date to bring profound change. You may not know it, but the United Kingdom has been a part of the solution for a long period of time. It's been the Global Partnership for Education's largest and longest term bilateral donor, and we thank you for that. The Global Partnership for Education is there, working in the almost 70 low and lower middle income countries on the planet that are in the most profound educational poverty, the places that we need to make the biggest difference. And working together over the last 14 years with the United Kingdom, we've been able to see dramatic results. 77 million more children are in school in GPE partner countries as a result of the work we've done to date. That includes 41 million girls, and if we think about the size and scale of that, that is more than the population of Canada, certainly more than the population of Australia. Fewer girls are dropping out. 3 out of every 4 girls in GPE partner countries finished primary school, and 24 million more children are enrolling in lower secondary school. So we can do it. The initiatives that we've undertaken have included things like supporting the Democratic Republic of Congo to have textbooks that remove sexist stereotypes so girls can imagine a different future. In Kenya, we've helped the government waive school fees, build toilet facilities for girls, hire female teachers, and counter sexual violence and harassment against girls. In Malawi and Afghanistan, we've been placing more female teachers in remote rural areas to improve the enrolment of girls so that they can stay at school longer. These are very practical examples of change, but we are hungry to do more. And when Libby can stand here and give you a statistic like 130 million girls are out of school, and we know that hundreds of millions more are in school, but either for such a short time or because their school is of such poor quality that they exit it really not able to do even the most basic literacy task or the most basic mathematics, we know we need to do more. We are very enthusiastic as the UK moves to the next stage of its future to continue to work with you and to upscale our partnership together. I know here that you are doing a profound review of your foreign policy and other settings, described as the biggest review since the end of the Cold War. I know as Prime Minister what it is like to undertake a fundamental review of your nation's place in the world. When I was Prime Minister, we did that through a document we ultimately called Australia in the Asian Century, to define what we would be, given our history, but our geography in this century of change. I know that you are doing such a deep-seated task as well, but I would be surprised if in thinking about the big issues that you want to put into that review, that it doesn't lead you back to education and its profound role in change. And as you work through those processes, we at the Global Partnership for Education will keep getting stronger and more ambitious about the changes that we need to see in our world, and ever more keen to work with you as a key delivery partner to change the lives of girls, not measured in the hundreds, not measured in the thousands, but measured ultimately in the tens and hundreds of millions, because that's the scale of the challenge in front of us. Thank you for your support to date. I look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. Thank you.